A question here from Anthony Constable. Any advice on getting out of the door? Open it. I've found it increasingly difficult maintaining my levels of training, 80 to 120 kilometres per week, and get out of the door with a smile. I blame the lack of highlights, races, etc. For over a year and a half. So over to you.
I mean, 120k is a lot of hours, and if you think about that in one go, that's quite overwhelming. Is to make each session enjoyable is a challenge. So my next run, how will that be enjoyable? What will I do to make that enjoyable? What will I do to make me look forward to that? And plan, and you start planning like that. And once you do that, you go, actually, it's depending on your goal, you can make it very enjoyable. I'll give an example. What I'm doing at the moment, I'm going for very gentle runs in the morning and I'm listening to a podcast, and there's loads of podcasts, but I'm listening to because I was a boxer, boxers' life stories. And I listen to them, and I've listened to all my Joe Calzaghe, George Groves, and you just jog along, a bit of stretching for about an hour, and it's really interesting. And I actually look forward to the next run. And so you think of something, what do I like doing? So you pick something you like doing. I said, well, I like doing, what do you like doing? Where do you like to run? Where do you like to go? In order to get the door open, what out there do you want to actually go and see, do, speed you want to run, podcast you want to listen to, I don't know, whatever is your own preferences, and they're all personal. That will help that. And set that up as best. I mean, you can't drive that far at the moment, but you can have some sessions where you drive somebody somewhere different. You can have sessions which you do something completely different in terms of the training you're going to do. So again, you could do some research on to find interesting sessions that are similar to the ones you're doing, or in terms of what the physiological goal you're trying to adapt. So, what would be enjoyable? I quite like again, Saturdays, because it's park run. I'm not doing park run. What I have been doing is doing a 5k fartlek, and it's fartlek. It's quite good fun in that you run fast when you fancy it, and you run slow when you are recovering, and you don't worry about how long and how either you're going to do, but the running fast bit is quite enjoyable. And I quite enjoy it. So it's a session I quite enjoy. It's a habit of doing. I look forward to Saturdays to see how we're going to get on, and then you pitch, or what from the run, what am I looking forward to? What am I looking into that to make it enjoyable for me? And I have two things. And that one is that the whole thing has been going quicker, and we've been knocking minutes off as we've been going. That's one thing that we get enjoyment from is when we are making progress towards a goal. When we're making rapid progress towards a goal, that becomes enjoyable. So you think through what your goals are. How fast am I moving towards them? You might be really slow. You might be stagnated. So you might need to pull your training out and actually work on some of the weaknesses where you could make a lot of progress quite quickly in there. For example, if someone is not strong, and getting stronger, people who don't do much strength training and start doing it get much stronger quite quickly, but the sense of progress is quite motivating. And in fartlek, I look at the top speeds I get. So, which again is quite motivating. So last week I was getting to this speed, and now I'm getting to a little bit quicker. Last week, and so on. So you find, you go, actually that's good as moving forwards. It's not moving. I'm not comparing it to anything but the previous week. So you keep it very relative. But you get positive you get motivation from successes, and then that you look forward to retesting whether you can do better than those in the next time.
Yeah, and reading through the question, I'd say I'd probably I'm making a huge assumption here, Anthony, but I'm guessing that you have that sort of extrinsic kind of motivation, those things that are outside. So I'm looking for motivation for training for a race that's not from internal, it's from external. So like as Andy said there, it's finding those things that you can do within your training. So find a training session that really, I guess, really whets the appetite a little bit, and you think, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Find those routes that you've really enjoyed, and are doing a socially distanced run with a couple of club mates or something like that, where you can have a good catch up and chew the fat, that kind of stuff as well, I think is. And as somebody's put there in the chat about actually putting the clothes out the night before, making sure so when they get up in the morning, it's the first thing they see. It's like the mental prompt: get my clothes on, get out the door. And as we all know, and I think everyone struggles from time to time with sort of a loss of mojo within running, particularly if it becomes repetitive and you've got no end goal from that. And I'm guessing that's what I'm detecting here, is that because you've not got a race that you've actually specifically been able to work towards over the last year and a half because of COVID, then of course it's hard to maintain that motivation for all that time. So it's, like Andy said there, maybe picking out something new to work on, some strength programs, or, really mixing up your training a little bit, I guess, is really what I think. And as Jacomo put there, a run streak saves me. So if you like that, if you're that minded, get out there and say, right, okay, I'm gonna go for a run streak now. I'm going to set myself X amount of days where I'm going to run every single day or something like that. So that's a good option actually. I'll just pick because there's a couple of questions coming through in the chat. So let me pick one of those up that I just saw a minute ago. Which I thought was quite an interesting one. One from Richard here. It's very easy to make a snap decision to give up when you're in the middle of an ultra, especially a multi-day ultra, when things aren't going so well. Do you have any suggestions for quickly moving your mindset from I want to stop to something more positive?
Yeah, you've got to have at that point the reason you're doing it in your mind. There will be some powerful motivations for you doing an ultra, and there'll be powerful motivations which get you emotional. And you don't want to call on them too many times, but at the point where you feel desperate, is that is a good point to call them on. You're doing it, which can be do it for make your kids proud of you, or do it because they may be personal goals, but think through why you're doing it. Be really clear on that to start with, because I want to stop is saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And you can anticipate that is how would you feel if you wandered into work the next day or into the pub or whatever and said, yeah, I did an ultra, I gave up after, and all the negative emotions that come with it can be quite negative. The avoidance of those, you sort of capture the whole thing in one scenario that it could be extremely negative emotionally. But why do you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? And then replay that in your mind. The route to get back going is, and why you want to stop, typically is what your thought of what it means to run is you're making it too hard. Because at this point, stopping actually it can be switched to slowing down to the slowest of slowest moving along, and that is progress. And it's sort of to shift your mindset to one step is progress. And really in the here and now for the short steps to get you back to progress. Then the next part to that, I think, would be, and ultras, I think this is really important, is always have something to look forward to that's coming quite soon, and that's typically food. So the saving the best biscuit, or what is you really looking forward to for overcoming those thoughts to stop is quite a good point to do so. So rather than say you're going to stop and go home, is you're going to stop and eat that various bits of food. In your training is you will, or you should, I think, anticipate these scenarios. When do you have thoughts to stop in your training, and how do you manage them, negotiate them? When do you give in to them? When is it permissible to stop? And we will probably, most of us will do this quite often. We will happily say, I can't train anymore, if we have to say, I have to go and pick up my kids, I have to go to work, I have to do this. The ultra, and so you're used to having a very rational reason for stopping. So having a rational reason for stopping when you're doing something which is really irrational. I'm going to run for 24 hours. When do you ever do that? When do you ever say, oh, I'll tell you what are we doing tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow, what I thought I'd do is lift my arm up and down all day for 24 hours. Why are you doing that? I just thought I would. Because running is one movement. You're doing it all of the time, and you're going to do it for 24 hours. Your brain is not trained and prepared for that, and therefore it's highly likely that at some point it's going to go, why are you doing this? Why should you be doing this? And at that point, you prepare yourself because you say, because I want to, I've set myself a goal to do this. The goal is really important for me to do this. And then it's just 24 hours. It's just 100. It's just 100 miles. It's just this. It isn't actually a whole lifetime. It will all be done typically in a relatively short period of time in the grand scheme of things. So you're going to suffer for the here and now for the importance you've given to achieving that goal, which at the point of when you press enter, and for me, I have no trouble with this because the emotions I experience when I pay for anything for my credit card are really intense, and therefore the idea that as I drop out, the hurt that would cause from me not getting my money's worth, for being as mean as me, would be I can't not do that. I can't not get my money's worth. But do you anticipate some of those? You actually know it's not getting through this is why I signed up. And playing those thoughts beforehand is really important to really committing to the overall challenge. One is to expect those to come, just as they do, just as thoughts of I'm running out of time, and when you're about to go training and you put yourself off by whatever excuse you put into your head. It's not that's the thing in reverse. Is your brain saying this goal's more important than this goal? It's playing with those goals and actually today, running is the goal I'm sticking to. And today we're going to eat a bit, but we are going to be running, and that running will be at times extremely slowly. But that's okay. Playing all that stuff beforehand, because I think a load of you have done ultras here. You have waves of fatigue, which is the other odd part. And the waves of fatigue, and again, your circadian rhythms, which again are absolutely not set to run for 24 hours. So there'll be certain parts where the urge to sleep will be utterly colossal. You're not going to stop that. You just got to accept it, and then it gets a bit harder for that bit. But the other times, it will start feeling a bit easier. It's unlike we had the marathon point. Marathons, you tend to feel good at the start and gradually fatigued. In ultras, you have points where you feel really awful, and then you seem to come good again. That once you've had a few of those, the ability then to say, I'm going to stack it up, to come through the dark parts, to go, I can come back good again, are strong. But it's the experience then comes. Experience will help you get to those thoughts. Just as I said, those who've done loads of marathons, that you get to 4 miles to go, and there is no amount of pain you couldn't suffer because you've done 20 odd marathons before. You've got that that experience to talk yourself through. Having done a few ultras, you realise it comes in waves, and you can draw on the positivity that comes in the next wave, thinking forwards. It can feel the dark hole at the time.
I think that's some really good points there from my mind. And I think you really picked up a good thing there, and that's sort of planning for that. So I always say that with the athletes I work with when we're doing ultras and stuff like that, is part of your visualization in that week leading to your race is what are you going to say to yourself? What are you going to tell yourself that's going to motivate you when that moment of pure suckness comes? Because at times running an ultra just truly sucks. Let's be honest, and you prepare for it. You know it's going to happen. So it's very individual. Like I say, it's finding that internal motivation that's going to keep you going. Like you said, for some people it might be looking at a picture of the kids. Other people it's I'm running it for this charity, and that's really close to my heart, so I cannot stop. And for the people, like I say, it might be I just really fancy that fantastic biscuit snack I've got at the next aid station. It really is, I think. But plan for it, I think, is the key thing, is what I'm saying there now. So we'll move on to a question from Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia. She's one of the regular attendees at our sessions with England Athletics. And she comes all the way from Buenos Aires in Argentina. So there we go. We've gone international tonight again. Is there any specific training or something we can do while training that can improve our attitude and focus during the actual race?
Well, absolutely. The mental preparation. So before the training session, sitting down beforehand, saying, "Well, what do I want to achieve from this?" As you would in a race. But in training, we'll have little bits of it which are typically not so intense. So you flip so you go, actually, we want to do 3-minute intervals at intensity. So the goal is, and you then take the reps as seriously as a race. And so what is it speed? Is it style? You set the goal out really clearly in your head. And then the approach would be to image yourself doing it. So use imagery to see yourself performing. Get your self-talk so that the words you use encourage you as you go around, give you good advice, good tips, give you the information that you want. And then you want to go, okay, well, that gives me the blueprint, that gives me the feeling, the emotions, what success, fast running, good running feels like. And then, okay, what cues do I want to pull me back to that in the race? And then you start to think about, okay, what whilst I'm running, what strategies will I use to actually get me back into that really positive mental state? And that could be counting is one. It sounds boringly tedious, but it helps get rhythm. It could be focusing on arms, so watching your arms and getting the feel of your arms, having an image of a rhythmic image of arms pumping up and down, which help your legs. I focus on arms because arms aren't actually running, and the person can do anything they like with their arms, and they still run. But by getting the arms smooth, relaxed, pumping along, the legs tend to follow. And getting the arms and legs in synchronization gets a really good sense of full body flow, of which you can talk yourself into and imagine into that. Think of images that help that you connect with fast running, smooth running, which you can play to yourself whilst in training. So that the trick is to use mental skills beforehand to set it up, what a good session will be like, how you'll judge it, what you'll say to yourself, and then have the triggers to put some of those into the run itself whilst in training, and with a plan to put it into a race. Because what you do in the training should be what you do in the race. Absolutely. And a tactic that I do sometimes from a coach's perspective to help people, I guess, cope with the unexpected sometimes is occasionally when I'm coaching a session with stuff, I'll give the athletes, this is what we're going to do today. So this is our session. But then what they won't know is I've actually got a little surprise at the end of the session that's not going to be, they're not going to be ready for it. So they get into that last rep and they think, oh, right, okay, I'm finished now. I've got my last, 1K to do. And then suddenly when they finish that and they're thinking of that's it, they can relax now. So right, okay, we're now doing this, this, and this, and quickly throw that into them. And you can see that look of shock on their face. But as I always tell them afterwards, this is a way of helping them to cope with the unexpected that happens in training and racing, in across all distances that happens. There's the times when maybe you're in a race and you've maybe taken a wrong turn, and that can happen quite a lot, particularly in longer races and ultra races specifically. If they're if the trail, it helps you cope with that unexpected by throwing little things in that you're not used to. Helps you, I guess, develop a bit more mental strength in that.